So U.S. President Donald Trump has called President Zelensky a dictator without elections. He has blamed Ukraine for starting this war. What goes through your mind as you hear that sort of rhetoric from the U.S. president?
Well, I think it's a good opportunity to remind that in this war, there's only one unelected dictator, and that's Vladimir Putin, who started the war in 2014, continued in 2022, and still has an objective to capture all of Ukraine, and we're not sure whether he's going to stop at Ukraine. So this has to be plastered all over for every decision maker to remember whenever anybody's making comments on anything happening in Europe. That's a fact. This is truth, and this has to be remembered.
You know, there are rising tensions, as we know, as we've been talking about, between Washington and much of Europe over President Trump's approach to settling this war, to finding an agreement. Can Europe consider the U.S. to be an ally, as they once had, when it comes to this conflict?
Well, at least at this juncture of history, we have to be prepared to accept the fact that President Putin's goals are aligned with President Trump's, and they contradict the goals of Ukraine and the goals of Europe. That's unfortunate. I don't think that we've ever been in this situation ever with our allies. In 100 of years, no ally of Europe has ever chosen an adversary against a friend.
You know, we heard that, of course, President Donald Trump's Russia-Ukraine envoy, Keith Kellogg, is in Kyiv. We talked a little bit about that. He was not present at those high-level talks involving the U.S. Secretary of State that took place in Saudi Arabia. So how effective can Kellogg then be in his discussions about Ukraine when he was not included in those high-level talks that took place?
Well, I have a sense that Special Envoy Kellogg has been sidelined by President Trump, and my guess is because his plan was an actual plan, or could have been an actual plan when he set out to find a way to peace. He mentioned that for any peace to be strong enough to hold, he needs at least 100 days to prepare for it. He was talking about strengthening Ukraine before the negotiations, and clearly that was not in favor by President Trump and his closest team. So we don't see Mr. Kellogg anywhere near President Trump now. He goes ahead and speaks in Ukraine, in other European capitals, but I don't think that he has President Trump's ear.
What does this also mean for the alliance, for NATO, when we're watching the way the U.S. is shifting its perspectives on this particular conflict?
Well, I think that the alliance might hold. It's too early to declare anything with certainty, but at least at this time, Europe and those who do understand the repercussions if Ukraine is forced to lose this war, they need to prepare to continue supporting Ukraine alone without its major ally. That means that we have to figure out the resources. We have to really get real with and take the 190 billion euros that are still in European banks, the Russian frozen assets, and use that to strengthen Ukrainian position, to strengthen European position, to forge regional, alliances that would help to deter Russians, at least, short to midterm.
Part of what we've been discussing, too, is really sort of the dialogue or adversarial remarks that have taken place between the U.S. president and between Volodymyr Zelensky as well. And the White House National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, says Ukraine bad-mouthing the U.S. is unacceptable. He has made it clear that Ukraine should sign the critical minerals deal that was proposed. So is this sort of an ultimatum? Is this blackmail? What sort of negotiating tactic are we seeing play out here?
Well, it's very difficult for me to say. I've spoken with some Ukrainian representatives. They were really surprised about the deal that has been offered to them. It was said that it's more like a colonial type of deal rather than and where allies help each other sort of deal. So it's difficult for me to say, but as I said before, we have to be prepared that President Trump and his closest team have more in common with President Putin rather than with Ukraine or European allies.
If the U.S. pulls out its support from this conflict for Ukraine, where does that leave other European allies and Ukraine itself?
Well, there are no easy paths ahead. This I can tell you. One path leads to stronger Europe, the one that is able to muster strength, out of the sheer financial resources that it has, builds up, is able to defend itself and defend Ukraine. Well, another path is a darker one, is the one where Europe is unable to stand, and Putin, easily declares victory, continues his fight against Ukraine. Ukraine is unable to stand because there's no more support, and who knows where Putin stops.
Mr. Landsbergis, I want to thank you so much for your time and for your thoughts on this today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Gabrielius Landsbergis is the former Foreign Minister of Lithuania. Thank you.